Welcome to the Post Sunday app. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to do a little bit different Post Sunday app, and that we do want to talk about the sermon yesterday, if you'd like to. Talk about closing up Luke. Sad day, like saying goodbye to an old friend.
Sad? You think? Was it that bad?
Well, no, the sermon was good.
Sermon, okay.
It wasn't.
No, it was sad. Like there was bittersweet, definitely. I was again talking to people last night and our care group and talking to the family and I don't know what to do for next week.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas? Maybe that's what we could spend the time.
Let's plan the sermon right now.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Well, I do know that you know what we're doing next week because we've already promoted a little bit on our website. Talking about the gospel in the Old Testament. The official title is
The Promise of the Gospel.
Yeah.
And it's talking about seeing Christ in all of Scripture.
Yeah.
And so we're going to look at the Old Testament. I talked yesterday about the statistics of how long it'll take us to get through the New Testament at our current pace of preaching through
the inner geek came out.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. Not that you're a geek at all.
Not that it's hidden all that well either.
I would just imagine you just loving that in your office.
Yeah.
Statistics.
That was an 8-hour workday right there. So we covered some of that, and so obviously, our time is limited, but it's important, I think, for people to understand how to approach the Old Testament. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do about 10 weeks and just give a big flyover of the Old Testament, and a big flyover, and then take a little time each Sunday, and go deeper into one area. So, for example, this Sunday we're going to talk about the beginning of the Bible. We're going to talk about Genesis and the things that are taking place in Genesis, and we're going to stop in Genesis 3, and we're going to talk about how we see the first mention of the gospel in Genesis 3:15, where it talks about he's talking to the serpent, God is, and he says, I'm going to put enmity between you and the woman and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. What's he talking about there? And then as we look at the idea of offspring and this promised offspring, we're going to kind of trace that through the Old Testament as well. So some neat things, and obviously this is very important because if we're going to worship God rightly, we need to understand who Jesus is. Jesus says all of Scripture reveals himself, and so I think understanding how the Old Testament reveals the person of Jesus Christ and his work and his ministry is going to change the way that people approach their Bible.
Yeah.
Or help them as they approach their Bible.
Yeah. And I think this does tie in a little bit to yesterday's sermon because you talked about, do we really grasp who Jesus is?
Yeah.
And there's a temptation, I think, for us to think, okay, well, to grasp that, I start in Matthew 1:1.
Right.
But we really need to go back.
Yeah, to Genesis 1:1.
Yeah.
In the beginning, God. And we even see Jesus in that act of creation as we understand who Jesus is in the New Testament, it helps us understand better what's taking place in Genesis 1 as we see God speaking of himself in a plurality, let us, and then Genesis 11, that talks about let us go down and see what's taking place. And so there's God in three persons in the Old Testament. There's God the Son at work, operating, his work, his ministry is taking place, his future ministry is being talked about, and it's this whole. You look at the Bible, and sometimes our temptation is to take a paragraph and just focus on just that paragraph. And as we look at the context of Scripture, we see this overarching redemptive plan of God to bring people into relationship with him through his Son, Jesus. And that's on every page of Scripture in some way.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask this question, although I think you already answered it in a lot of ways. But you said that you hope we get a greater appreciation for the Old Testament throughout the sermon series. Is there anything else that you just say, boy, at the end of this time, these are some other things I hope the congregation really pulls from this series?
I hope they know Jesus better.
Yeah.
Right. I hope they know how to know Jesus, and I hope they know how to approach the Old Testament better as a result of the end of this series. And I think obviously that'll have a lot of other applications in their life. I think it's going to help them as they interact with people who may be skeptical about Scripture. I think sometimes people attack Christians because they don't understand the Old Testament. They have a warped view of what's in it and what it means and how we apply it. And so I think it'll help us interact with people who may be skeptical of Christianity. It'll help us understand. I know that for example, I may know that one of the Old Testament prohibitions is I can't boil a goat in its mother's milk. Okay, well, I don't really struggle with that on a daily basis, wondering, man, today should I or should I not boil a goat in its mother's milk? But what is the Christ-centered focus of a passage like that? What is God saying? What is He saying about how to relate? It was a part of the Canaanite rituals, and so what is He saying about how I relate to people who are pursuing activities that drive me further away from God, and how do I interact with that? And understanding how to take Scripture and apply it in our lives is always a helpful thing.
Yeah, well, good. Well, this is a great chance too, I think, for the two of us and our congregation to invite people. I think sometimes we start something afresh, and we want to come start this new series. People might consider that, but I think especially with this series, because you can lead, I think, into a conversation with someone about, hey, have you ever wondered about what the Old Testament has to do with the New Testament? Are they two separate entities that we don't connect? And I think that can kind of reverberate a little bit in people's minds, and
absolutely
might be willing to come check it out.
Yeah,
so looking forward to it.
Yeah,
thanks man.
Too.
Thanks for your time today. So thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time.